Hi, check out this episode with Chuck Tatelbaum, a lawyer for 60 years who's also been marching in the Macy's parade as a clown. This guy has had a life you won't believe. Let's see what Chuck has to say, and let's see whether or not he'll show us some of his clowning around.
The Elven Star Podcast. And now, your host, Kevin Ferry.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ferry. Welcome to the Elven Star Podcast. Today's special guest is Chuck Tatelbaum, who is a lawyer for many decades representing some of the world's largest corporation in bankruptcy matters, former tank operator, and also a renowned clown. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here on this podcast.
It is a pleasure to have you. What an interesting career and life you seem to be leading. So where would you like to start? There seems to be many different avenues we could begin with.
Well, I grew up in Baltimore, which was a town very much like New Britain, very blue collar, very industrial, which was having growing issues. I went to high school there, uh, went to undergraduate at the University of Maryland, just outside of Washington, then went to law school in Baltimore, did very well in law school, clerked for U.S. District Judge my first year. Then it was Vietnam time, and I got drafted. As soon as I finished the clerkship, spent 2 years driving a tank at Fort Knox in Kentucky, and then started to practice law.
So how did driving a tank help you in your law practice?
I think the military taught me how to deal with people. Even though in high school, it was an all-boys public school, a magnet-type school, and there were kids from all over the city who I'd never met or dealt with before, and then college, and then law school, it was still pretty homogeneous. When I got to the Army, I was 23. Everybody else was 17, never away from home before, and it was a whole different environment. Kids from all over the country, scared to death, and it taught me how to deal with people. And because I had had 2 years of ROTC in undergraduate, I started out with a stripe. And so therefore, they made me in charge of this and made me in charge of that because I was older. And so it taught me leadership as well as getting along with a very diverse group of people.
That's huge for law, right? Because we never know who our clients are going to be, what sort of background they've come from.
No, and being able to communicate, because people can be very smart and uneducated. And that's what I found in the Army. And this was their first time away. And so the communication was the most effective thing, because even though that you can tell someone you have to do something, that doesn't work. And so the Army taught me some leadership. I was not everything was great.
Of course.
It did teach me some leadership and how to work with people.
Right. And the time that you spent in the Army was after you had done the federal clerkship?
Yes, that was all deferred. And then 2 weeks after I finished the clerkship, I got my draft notice.
Okay.
And I had a choice of going into JAG for 5 years or going in as an enlisted person for 2. And I really wasn't ready to commit for 5, so that's why I went as a non-lawyer into the Army.
I see. So if you had gone the JAG route, what does JAG stand for? So people that don't know?
Judge Advocates General. You're a lawyer for the military.
Yeah.
In my case, it would have been the Navy.
Right. And you would have been doing what? Like, does that mean specifically you would have been like a prosecutor prosecuting potential crimes that happened on bases or things like that, or not?
It could, interestingly, JAG prosecutes and defends.
Right. Okay.
So I would have that, or just giving advice on contracts or military law or wartime law. It depends. They just assign you to something.
Okay. So, but instead you chose a 2-year route, and what did you end up doing in those 2 years?
I drove and commanded a tank platoon.
Wow. Okay. So, in the Army, let's just talk about the difference between, the commanding officer barking out the orders and the judge who's barking out maybe some orders. Much of a difference, or how do you see that?
Yeah, it was a big difference, at least during Vietnam. The Army, if you've ever seen an officer and a gentleman, and you see the type of what sergeants and officers do, a lot of it was irrational, and you can't challenge, you can't say objection, and you have to keep your mouth shut. Both dogmatic, both in charge, but there is a larger degree of rationality with the judges.
There you go. That's good. That's good. So you've been practicing law for how many years now?
This is my 60th year.
Wow, wow. And now primarily in what state?
I do all over the country because my office is in Florida, but with the practice I have, it is national and European in scope, so that I really just cover everywhere because bankruptcy law is the same all over the country. Because as you know, like the tax code, the bankruptcy code supersedes everything the state does. So the law is the same everywhere.
Yeah, I learned the lesson the hard way about that, in a case, sad to say, not that long ago. But I feel I should have known better. But nonetheless, as I'm pursuing a civil remedy for a client, way down the road in that case, when we're nearing trial, the defense attorney decides to file a motion to dismiss because my client had filed a bankruptcy 30 years prior. And as such, this potential recovery would have been available to the estate because the issues that I was suing over happened pre-filing. But anyway, so we worked our way out of it by getting the bankruptcy estate open, and the client ended up actually satisfying the debts. But man, was that a lesson of the power of the bankruptcy code and how it has a long tail.
It does, and that happens more often than you would know.
Yeah, so that I should have mentioned that earlier when I was the guest on a podcast of what lessons I'd like to leave for the young lawyers out there. So maybe we'll have to stick that one in.
Yeah.
But okay, great. So in your sixth decade now as a lawyer, what have you done to try to stay sane? It can be a somewhat contentious career at times and difficult, has its stresses, right?
It is, and first of all, most of my social friends are not lawyers. And I have this little cliche, it's my job, not my life.
Right.
And I try to leave it at the office, which is one thing which works very well.
Right.
And as you said in the introduction, I also clown. And that, while it's only for part of the year, it's pervasive through the whole time. And it has changed my philosophy of things. And there's also a very popular book out now called The Let Them Theory, and it's selling millions. And the whole theory is you can't change things. And when you worry and worry and worry about things you can't change, your thought processes aren't going to be good. So you just have to say, let them do what they're going to do. And I have a big sticky right by my laptop, by my keyboard that just says, let them.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's exactly what Dr. Ming Wu, who was a guest about a month ago maybe, said in a different way: accept and let go. Accept and let go. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So when did you get into clowning?
About 15 years ago, I've represented Macy's and Bloomingdale's for over 30 years. When they have vendors that go bankrupt or landlords that go bankrupt anywhere in the country, I handle it. And I've gotten to know a lot of the people there. When I was in high school, I was in the drama club and in the orchestra. And as my wife will say, I like to perform. And I admit it.
And little by little, I did begin to see that there were other facets to his personality, but I never knew that he was going to be clown material at all. I mean, he really can let go and enjoy the moment of being out there.
And I think most good lawyers like to perform as well. I was having dinner in New York finishing a case with one of the Macy's lawyers, and I said, this sounds crazy, but how do you get in the parade? And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, well, you asked the right person.
I've been a lawyer for Macy's for many years and gotten to know a lot of the people When I found out that the lead attorney I dealt with, it was an executive with the parade, when we finished a big case and I had done a good job, he sort of said, what can we do? We're real so thankful. And I said, Mitch, you won't believe this, but my childhood fantasy has to be in the parade. Is there any way to do it? And he says, well, you've asked the right person, and I can probably get you into Clown U. You have to go through the Clown U training and then be accepted because you have to be good enough. And then maybe you can get in the parade. And to me, I just couldn't think of anything else.
Because I'm Macy's clown soul. One of my divisions is the entertainment group, the 4th of July, fireworks, and the parade. So I can get you in because you have to be affiliated with Macy's. You have to have a sponsor. I'll sponsor you. But you have to go and get a certificate from a clown school. And we have to need that for liability and for everything else. And I said, well, what school? And he said, well, Macy's has an agreement with the Big Apple Circus, which is right behind Lincoln Center in New York, and they run Clown University. And you have to go there on your own, pay your own way, and if you get a certificate, then you can get in. So I signed myself and my wife without telling her. I came back and said, we're going to Clown U.
Charles Tatelbaum.
All right. You're all set. You
Oh,
right on in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And hi, everyone. We are very excited. Today is our day. The Clown School, Clown University. We have all of our clowns coming to the Big Apple Circus. Everyone is really excited to be here. We're going to have a fun day. We're going to have a mini parade. We're going to have so much fun.
Thanksgiving Day Parade is one of the best days in New York City. It's the high point of my year, every year. And I just hope I can do it for a lot more years.
The Clown U is really so of these volunteers, all of them who are just everyday people who have the desire to be in the parade. So we come in and we have professional coaches who are clowns themselves who work for us at the Big Apple Circus. And they coach them with their little routines when the parade stops. That is something that we create for them, and they practice that.
What did she say to that?
I'm not sure. It was perplexing. No, she's very good. She taught for 38 years in Newington, right near here.
Okay.
And so she's not a performer, but she knows what it is to be in the public. And so she said, I'll try it as well.
Oh, my God. That's so neat.
And so we went and we did the clown training. We were graduated. We got our certificate. And then we did our first parade.
All right. We'll get to the parade. Obviously, I want to know a lot about the parade, but I want to know more about clown school. I never even knew there was such a thing, but it makes sense. Everyone's got to learn somewhere.
Yes.
So are there more than this one clown school in the United States, or are they it?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to join the circus, there's an in-depth clown school. This is not that.
Okay.
This is one where I can do hospitals, I can do other types of things where the institution that's either hiring me or asking me to volunteer, I've had the training so that as an attorney, there's no liability. So that's what Clown U is. That's for people who want to get into the Macy's parade or do non-professional clowning.
I see. So how long of a course is that?
It's off and on for a week.
Yeah.
Mostly over a long weekend.
Okay.
Very long weekend.
Okay. So you get through that and you have some sort of final performance that you have to do? How do you get do you pass?
The instructors sort of test you, because one of the things we have to do is learn how to make animal noises. We have to learn how to do facial expressions. We have to know how to deal with very young children, older children, because you deal with them differently. You learn a little bit about makeup, and you just learn about when to stick out your tongue and how to deal with people and how to make people happy and how not to scare people.
Wow. Did you actually learn things that you simply didn't know at all? Or was it kind of like putting things in the proper order for you?
Maybe both. I think one of the things it taught me is how to focus on the person I'm facing much more, how to read them, and how to react to their reading,
Hmm.
to what I'm reading of them. I knew that, but I'd never really focused on it before.
Yeah.
And that training has been great. As you know, when you're in front of a jury or even a judge, as a lawyer or a client, a new client, existing client, whatever, your countenance, how you respond, and how you read them is critical. And the clown school has done more to sharpen my focus on that than anything else.
Wow, that's really neat. But you're absolutely right about that. We've got to be aware of our audience.
Yeah.
We're not performing to no one after all.
Yes, yeah.
So, and your wife matriculated from clown school as well?
Right. She did the first year.
Yep.
What we did the first year, we were breakfast clowns behind the Pillsbury Doughboy balloon. I was a 5-foot piece of toast, and my wife was a stick of butter, which literally was a stick of butter with her head, arms, and legs. The trouble is, this was the first year they did that. My wife is 5 feet. The stick of butter is for someone 5'6" or more. So it came below her calves. So for the 5 miles,
I was really squished into the inside of this box, which made moving very difficult.
she had to waddle,
Oh,
and she was behind everybody. And we'd stop, and everybody would catch up, and she'd waddle, catch up, and then we'd start again. So after the first year, she said, I'll let you do it. I'll be your biggest supporter. But one year was enough as a stick of butter.
how long did it take her to recover? I imagine that just her body motion and the mechanism was like not exactly comfortable there.
No, it took a few days.
All right. So, how many years now have you been doing this?
13.
Wow. All right. So, different role every year?
Every year, it's a different costume. They decide it. They tell you ahead of time. You go up for prepping.
First, learn some tricks of the trade.
Hip with these big old hats is great. Using what you have. I mean, she's the sheriff. I wonder if you're all going to be able to.
First of all, I'm going over sort of a physicality that they can use. They're wearing costumes that clearly show what they are, but the costumes come alive if they have a walk, a physicality that goes along with that. So we were swaggering as the Wild Western clowns. The blocks were practicing being rigid and block-like, and the rag dolls were being as floppy as possible. And then from there, we were working on some material, just some real simple physical comedy, a way for them to travel along the route, and then if there's time during the parade to stop, they get to do a little routine, and just some real basic clowning.
You meet your clown captain. You learn dance routines so that when the parade stops, the clown captain can blow a whistle and say, do this or do that.
Ah.
And just to refresh ourselves.
Okay. So, there's some training that goes on before the parade every year.
Yes.
How much time do you put into that?
Well, it depends. After 5 years of doing it, you don't have to do it.
Okay.
And so now, instead of flying from Florida to New York, spending a weekend and going back, I just look at videos and stuff like that.
I see. And is this a volunteer job?
Volunteer. Everybody pays their own way. We have to pay our hotel, pay our transportation, pay our food, everything. They give us the costume, and they have the makeup artist, and they do the logistics, but it's all on our own.
Yeah. Labor of love here. Absolutely.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. And when you got into this, were you sharing this with your non-Macy's like clients? Were you letting them know that this was something you were doing?
No. I was afraid that my image dealing with corporate clients, which I do, representing creditors, I was really afraid how they would react, because I have to be very serious. We're dealing with money. We're dealing with people in stressful business situations. And I thought this was going to be my lark and not tell anybody.
Yeah.
And right afterward, Wall Street Journal does a bankruptcy blog. The reporter found out about it and actually did an article with a picture that I gave him of my wife and myself, toast and butter. And then the word got out, and I was amazed. Every client, everybody said, "Oh, it's so wonderful that you do something else. I've always wanted to do it." Or everybody watches the Macy's parade.
Yeah.
And I was totally astounded at the positive reaction of everybody, um, even judges. I mean, I had one incident where I was in the bankruptcy court in Miami with a relatively new client, and I got up and made a very, I thought, eloquent opening statement. And the judge looks down and says, "Mr. Tatelbaum, you're not clowning around, are you?" Well, I knew what it was. I sat down, and my client whispers to me, "Are you in trouble?" "Oh, what do you mean clowning around?" And so it's, and the other thing I think you realize, we are a commodity. No matter how good we are, there are other attorneys that are as good or better, and you have to identify yourself, and you have to stand out. And being a clown separates me. I still have to perform well, not as a clown, but as a lawyer. I still have to do a great job, but they remember. And it's just been a remarkable permutation of what's happened as a result of it. None of it intended or thought about before I started.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, by being yourself, by any one of us being truly ourself
Mhm.
and opening that up to the world, it kind of gives permission to the other people. You said other people were like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do something." Maybe not a clown, but kind of made them, maybe freed them up a little bit to not be worried to go do this other thing for the same reasons that you were trying to like cordon off the clowning from your clients, right?
I think so. A number of people have said, "Boy, if you can do that, then I can
Yeah.
do this."
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you remember, all of the different, characters that you've played in these parades along the way?
Most of them.
Yeah, do you have a favorite?
I think I had two. One is the birthday clown. There were 6 slices of cake. I was a slice of cake, and there were 12 ice cream cones. And so one of the things we did when the parade stopped, the captain would blow a whistle, and all 6 slices of cake would come together to be one round cake, and we'd do a dance. And then we go over and talk to the kids and say, "Whose birthday is it?" And when we were in the staging area, former Mayor de Blasio of New York walked by and said, "That is a great costume."
Nice.
And I got a picture with him,
Oh, nice.
which people like de Blasio or not, but it still was very interesting.
Sure.
And, I think that, and just the celebration clown, which is the one with the most frills in the hair and the most everything. It wasn't really a theme, because when I was Raggedy Andy, I was a footballer. I've been a lot of things that are themed, and just being the celebration clown, I really enjoyed.
Oh, that's really neat. Have you been able to take any of your clowning around literally into your profession at all?
Um, not in my profession. In our neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, we have a holiday party for the association where we draw about 400 people, and in a variation, I play Santa Claus, and I come in on the front of a Fort Lauderdale fire truck and
Oh.
hand out candy to kids, and being Santa Claus. And it's very much like the clowning, because you have to change your whole persona.
That's fun, that's fun. So you started to do this about at what age?
Probably 70, 68 maybe.
Okay. And from the time you were a kid, was there something about clowns that you really were attracted to?
I think it was more performance.
Okay.
I like clowning because clowning is unstructured. I mean, there's only certain things you can do and you can't do. But, as a lawyer, when can we stick out our tongue? We never can.
Right.
And I can when I'm on the parade route. And the interesting thing about Macy's parade, they tell you right at the beginning, if you think you're going to be on television, you never will. Because they showed the bands, the floats, the performers, the balloons. We're there for the people along the side of the road, all the way to 5 miles for the whole parade. We're not there for TV. So you pick a side, and that's your side for the whole time. And so you're entertaining those people, and it's a whole different atmosphere than, being a TV type something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is there any part of your clown costume that you found is useful in serious negotiations in your job as a lawyer?
Well, the nose.
Tell us more.
Well, um, I have a series of different size noses depending on where I am. This is my work nose. I have bigger ones for performance. Um, I'll be in a deposition or a mediation where we're at a table, never in court, where people just get really intense. And what I do is I swivel my chair around and I put the nose on and then come back. And then all of a sudden there's a silence. And my line is, let's stop clowning around. And it usually breaks it. And I'll sometimes use it at other times just to break the tension and get people back to being more normal. As you know, it gets really intense and you need to take the tone down.
Yeah, what a beautiful way to cycle back the energy that gets a little bit too strong at times.
And it's a relief for me.
Yeah.
We're more constructive when we're in a non-adversary. We're adversaries, but we're working constructively. And I think it helps take that tone, the sharp edge down.
Yeah, kind of interesting profession, isn't it? We have to work with these people that are adversaries. We're trying to build something that's probably we both have different visions of what we're trying to build. Interesting, isn't it?
It is. And I'm very lucky because in the business bankruptcy field, it's a lot different than straight litigation because I represent creditors and the debtor side and lenders, if they're in there, or suppliers. We all want to keep the company in business. It's financial distress. We're all looking to keep the jobs going. We're all looking, if I'm the vendor, I want my client to still sell. If I'm the lender, I want them to be successful so I'll get paid. So we all have different things and we sometimes have adversary hearings, but we're all working for the same goal.
Okay.
And I found it less confrontational and less adversarial than straight plaintiff versus defendant litigation.
Yeah.
And also, most of the same attorneys are involved. And we all know we have to work with each other. And if someone is a horse's patootie, then they're going to be ostracized because we're advocates for our client, but we also have to work together.
Yeah. I've had a couple of times where I've had to appear in a bankruptcy setting in federal court, and I did see that this was a pretty small group of lawyers that all knew each other very well. Yeah, that's interesting. So has your clowning around got you any notoriety in the news or anywhere else?
Well,
you did talk about at least an article that exposed you.
Yeah. There was, about 11 years ago, PBS did a documentary called Journey to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And what they did is they followed a band from the west coast of Florida in a high school from the time they got admitted 3 years before the parade to preparing and going forward. And they followed me for a year before the parade in getting ready and everything. Now, it helped that I was chair of the board of the NPR PBS station, and I gave them the idea and was able to give them the cooperation with Macy's. But it aired on every PBS station, still airs like Miracle on 34th Street and all that every Thanksgiving, you see it pop up a day or two before Thanksgiving on most PBS stations.
Well, that's great. We're going to definitely have it pop up as part of this podcast, too. I think we've got permission to do that, so that's exciting.
Yeah, and so that was a lot of fun working with them to produce. They saw me rehearsing in Florida. They interviewed my law partners. They did a lot of things and then went to the Clown Refresher School, and they followed the band doing all their stuff, and then they had a golf cart and followed me during the parade. And so it was really interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Do you know of any people who have been inspired to go to clown school, get into clowning because of you and stuff that you've done?
I get a lot of requests to do that, but unfortunately, you have to be affiliated with Macy's.
You're right.
And they just can't. The only time I know anybody who got in was a woman who for 40 years wrote a letter to Macy's, I would like to be a clown in the parade. And on her 80th birthday, they said, okay, but she wasn't able to walk. So they put her in a clown outfit at one of the first floats as an honor.
Oh, wow. That's neat.
Yeah,
That's
but
neat.
you have to be affiliated with Macy's. And I get a lot of requests. I say, well, it's easy. You're not affiliated with Macy's. I can't get you in.
Right, right. So is that the only way to get into this Big Apple clown school?
No.
Okay. For the parade.
For the parade. You can't get in
Specifically.
the parade.
I got you. So how else does someone who's interested in clowning, maybe they just want to go to a local senior center or somewhere else in their community?
There are a number of them around. In Florida, you have in Fort Myers, Sarasota, rather, you have the old Barnum and Bailey. They have a school there. There are a number of colleges that actually have clown and circus courses.
Wow. And is it to the point where you can get like an associate's degree in clowning or like degrees in clowning?
I think in several schools there is.
Wow.
Well, in circusing, not just clowning is just part of the circusing.
Yeah. Gotcha. Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been involved in some interesting things, the law, clowning. What kind of advice would you leave? First of all, let's just maybe say in the law. For someone that's aspiring to get into the law today, what would you tell them after all these years of your experience?
Well, you have to love it. I love it. I was lucky. I taught law school for 7 years, and it gave me I loved it. I was never as good a lawyer as I was then because I had to stay sharp because the students don't tolerate any foolishness when you give them an answer, and they read up. So that made me sharp. You have to keep loving the law, and you're not going to slide.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things. And pick an area that you enjoy doing.
Right.
Because if you don't enjoy doing it, it's just a job and it becomes drudgery.
Right.
And I also am very lucky. Early on in my career, I worked for a year in Japan for a client. I was an implant when the Japanese companies were buying all these assets in the U.S. and there was no internet and 12-hour time difference. So I went over there and I learned a lot about culture and everything else. And then that led to taking a sabbatical where I actually worked for the State Department and spent close to a year in Croatia after communism fell, helping them with a team of judges, lawyers from all over the world, install business laws. Because if there were no business laws, there would be no investment. Then after Croatia, I did Slovakia. And it was so great doing that. It was not financially rewarding. And meeting people and doing culture, which then led me the opportunity for a client to hire me for a 10-year major case in Turkey. I handled the Saab bankruptcy for the lender in Sweden. And you got to take opportunities like that, which has allowed me to expand and do what I do.
So you took this really interesting position helping establish business laws in these countries, which paid probably almost nothing, it sounds like.
State Department paid you very little.
Just out of like wanting to do something good, wanting to do something new, not expecting anything to come out of it. But it did. It brought you a big client that lasted for 10 years, you said.
Yeah, it's brought a number of them that have hired me for this because I've learned culture and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to deal with it, and it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the fact that they asked me to do it because I had been involved with the American Bankruptcy Institute and been teaching, they felt that I could work with these other people.
Yeah. And what's going on in the world of bankruptcy? Are the codes changing rapidly? Are they kind of set in stone? What is happening?
Rapidly is not the answer.
Yeah.
The first code was in 1789. It was amended in 1898. We went all the way through the Depression, never any change.
Wow.
The next change was 79. They made some modifications in 2002. But because of the stalemate in Congress, the changes, the modifications that need to be made because of current business issues, from the 2008 problems to COVID, we've had virtually no change. And we need not major change, but times change. And we need that. And it's not a partisan thing, just nothing gets done.
Yeah, nothing gets done. Hopefully that's something that can change sooner than later in this country, for sure. So now, same sort of question for people. Why should there be more clowns and clowning around?
Because it brings happiness. It brings smiles. And people stop taking themselves so seriously. We all, in our profession, in our lives, whatever, take ourselves too seriously. And when you can transform yourself from whatever you do into a whole different persona, because when I'm the Santa Claus, or I'm in the parade, or I'm just talking about it, I'm a different person. And it makes me a happier person, because I'll see a kid, 2-3-year-old kid in the restaurant, and I'll pull out my nose and I'll wave to them, and you see this little smile coming. And that's just a nice feeling.
Yeah, it sure is. Sure is. Well, I think that's an amazing spot to wrap this up, and I want to thank you very much. You shared some real bits of wisdom with us, but I loved hearing about the clowning around, and the world needs way more of that, doesn't it?
It does. And if people will just think about it, they don't have to be a professional clown, but just think about smile every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to end with a nice big smile. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the most exciting thing in the world. Every year, I'm more excited than I was the year before, because I see more of it, and there's more going on, and I get to appreciate how many people and how wonderful it is. How many people want to take your picture, and they want to share the joy with you of the day. You don't see a frowning face.
If you enjoyed clowning around with us on this episode of the Elven Star Podcast, do me a great favor and share this with the world, like and subscribe. Thank you.
Brought to you by Ghost the Dog Productions. Barking from the rooftops, baby. Ooh.
The Elven Star Podcast is underwritten by Fairy Law.